Hey folks, Duger does. Welcome back to my channel. I had a movie review planned, but I scrapped it whenever I was in the shower listening to music and the news came on and said that Merle Haggard died. Merle Haggard had passed. Now, why is that newsworthy for me and my channel? Well, he is one of the more instrumental artists who got me into country music. Let's go back to the late 70s. Prior to that period, I was basically into whatever my mom listened to. And my mom listened to a lot of Motown, R&B, soul, um, contemporary music, stuff like that. So that's really what I was akin to. Then when I started hitting my preteen years, 10, 11, 12, that was the early 80s, and my mom was about the late 70s, early 80s. My mom was getting into the whole urban cowboy thing and really listened to country music more. And at first I didn't care for it, a little too twangy for me, and but the moment I heard Merle Haggard's Kern River, it hit me here. In fact, I cried the first time I heard it. And I started getting into country more. And, my favorite artist is Hank Williams Jr. I could listen to Hank Jr. all day long. But even Hank was influenced by Merle. And I tell you, Merle's the man when it comes to songwriting. He's written some doozies, and a lot of them are about his life. His dad died when he was really young, and in a way, him and I have a kinship in that regards, because I didn't grow up with a father. I didn't grow up knowing my father. So I was a very angry young man. I had a lot of mixed feelings about why my father was not in my life. And that anger subsided when I eventually met the man and realized, it was just circumstances that kept us apart. And so I don't hold any grudge or bad feelings toward him, but hearing Merle kind of filled that void. Not having a father, I looked up to a lot of people as father figures, I guess you could say, and Merle was one of them. His music, kept me thinking about, right and wrong. Because like Mama tried to raise him better, but he was a little butthead. After his dad died, he became very rebellious as a teen and got into lots of trouble, and as a young man ended up in prison. And in that regard, him and I were in that way because I was angry. I was doing things that led me down a path that could have ended me in prison as well. I would have ended up in prison. And luckily I got the help I needed. And part of that help was music. I love music, all kinds of music. Not just, the standards, country, rock, blues, jazz, so on and so forth. I even like really obscure stuff like Cajun Zydeco, Swiss Alphorn music. I mean, I'm weird like that. And it even movies, I'm the same way. I'm very eclectic with my movies. And in fact, the movie I was going to talk about today was a Lithuanian coming of age movie that it was early in the morning, couldn't really find anything that jumped out at me, and I thought, let's just watch that. Hopefully it'll bore me to tears, and I'll go back to sleep. I never did. I ended up staying up watching the stupid movie. But I'll talk about that movie in another video, but I wanted to get back on Merle. So when I did meet my dad, it was kind of funny that as my dad got older, he looked more and more like Merle Haggard. He even wore a fedora like Merle Haggard. And there had been a couple times he even played. My dad played guitar and sang, and so when we would go to the lake house, they had a lake house up on Grand Lake, and he if he got tired or just wanted to, the fish wasn't biting, he would go up to the lake house, and he'd turn the intercom on to where I could hear him up there, and he would sit up there and play the guitar and sing while I was down there in the lake house fishing or down on the dock fishing. And one of the songs he sang was a Merle Haggard song, and it was Okie from Muskogee. And he sang it a little different, but every time I think of Merle Haggard, I really think of my dad now, and kind of weird how much they looked alike as he got older. And but the funny thing is Merle wasn't the one I imagined as my dad as far as looks. In fact, Hank Williams Jr. Was the one who I thought my dad would look like. He's the one I looked most up to as a teenager. And but yeah, now when I hear Merle's music, I think of my dad. And now that Merle's gone, kind of sad. In fact, whenever I heard it on the radio, I thought it was a bunch of bull. So I jumped on the internet and started looking around, and at first I couldn't find anything. And then as I was on Facebook, I was flipping through my relatives' pages to see if they posted anything about it or if there was anything in the news feed. And one of my friends actually had shared a link from Merle Haggard's youngest son, Ben. And Ben had announced that his father had passed. And it made me think back to losing my dad last year. And remember the pain of losing him and knowing how that felt. And I just can't imagine what they were going through. And the pain never goes away. It'll stay with you, And but it gets better as years go by. It's only been a year since I lost my dad, so it's still pretty fresh here. And my thoughts and prayers are going to be with the Haggard family, mainly because he really is an Okie by blood. His mom and dad were from Oklahoma. In fact, I think one of the things I read, I don't know if it's true, that he was born in a boxcar near Shakota, Oklahoma. Now, I don't know if that's true, and I think he himself even said that wasn't true, but it's still true that his mom and dad were Okies. And he had an Okie way about him. He spoke the truth. He was kind to others. He never backed down. He always spoke his mind, and that's what I liked about him. The man and the music, but the man as well. I liked him a lot. And so, Merle, God bless you, man. I hope you're having a good time up there, heaven, with your mom and dad, and your the people who you looked up to as a musician. I know he was a big fan of Lefty Frizzell, and I think it was Lefty who gave him his first shot So, kudos to you, man. Now you're no longer in pain and you're out of this world. And you're in a much better place. And while you're up there, say hi to my dad. I hope maybe you two sit down and have a jam session. Excuse me. Just that thought made me think of my dad. Anyway, folks, just wanted to share that with you. And sorry I got a little teary-eyed there at the end. You all have a great day and God bless and do good. Deuces. Bye-bye, y'all.